Hi, folks. How's it going? Happy Saturday. I'm yelling at people on Tumblr, as you may have noticed. Hey, Fluffy, good to see you. I'm going to give everybody kind of like shortened nicknames in the chat if I see you. By the way, it's good to see you again. Hello, hello. So, hi, Laughing Cat. How's it going? Yeah, today's a little bit of a weird day for me. We are having Santa Ana's in Southern California, so there's a bunch of stuff blowing around my yard, pretty hardcore. Good. I'm glad to hear that you're good. And so I didn't sleep great last night because there was stuff blowing around, and Tiny Bastard was too nervous to eat because there was stuff blowing around, and so I have sort of a headache that's been carrying on for like 18 hours. So. Um, I did definitely have very much of a time with that install. I'm going to be continuing to work on it. I think that the issue is that it's a drive order thing because of the particular distro that I'm using. It doesn't like the combination of the computer and the distro, it doesn't automatically detect the drive order to boot from. So I just need to use grub or whatever the fuck that is to set the drive order to tell it to boot from the thumb drive that's supposed to just automatically be a boot drive. Um, but yeah, that was fun. But I am also going to do a simpler Linux install stream where I've got another computer that it was a refurb throwaway from work kind of thing that's a simpler computer with less resources, and I'm just gonna do a basic mint install so I can just show people like, okay, I had this pre-downloaded, here's how you do the checksum, this is pretty easy when you actually have everything like pre-planned, and it should go okay, but maybe it'll be another start to failure stream. Which, I mean, at the very least it was funny. If nothing else, it was amusing. So, but yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit of a odd time on stream today because I don't have too much of a plan. I do again have a headache. Tiny bastard didn't want to eat, is not in here because she doesn't want to be in here. She just wants to be cuddled up in a pillow. And yeah, so there's also bunches of noises and things blowing down. So I hope things don't like I don't think my neighbors have any trees that are close enough to like blow into the windows here, but we'll see. So there's power out in a few hundred places in LA right now because of the fires. So not fires because of the wind. Oof. No fires yet, I hope, knock on wood. It would be great if we didn't have another year of fires like last year. So happy Saturday. Yeah, no, she's Tiny Bastard's getting old. She's the best, but she is definitely becoming a senior dog. And one of the things that's been happening recently is like her directional hearing has gotten really bad, and her vision is not great at various times of day. So like one of the things that'll happen is like my house is weirdly constructed, so like there's kind of this central area where like there are like two fireplaces in the middle, and like you can walk around them and it kind of creates a loop, and like it's two separate rooms plus like the kitchen and dining room and everything like that. And like one of the things that'll happen really frequently is she'll be looking from the dining room into the kitchen, and I'll be standing behind her like in the hallway, and I'll call her and she'll walk into the kitchen looking for me in the opposite direction, and we can like almost circle each other. So like yeah, one of the things that kept happening last night was she would get nervous about something and go like down the hall to check, and I would call her to come back into the bedroom, and she would think that I was in the kitchen and walk around. So it's like, okay, little dog, I'm just a little worried. I'm just a little worried about either the hearing or like the senility. She's 12, so she's not super super old, but she's definitely a senior doggy. And yeah, she also like was acting super, super hungry the other day. And so I gave her extra food, but I think I may have given her too much extra food because she basically wasn't interested in eating yesterday, and she's always interested in eating. So like she basically didn't have dinner last night, and it was just like, doggo, it's what's going on? So I'm a little worried about her, but I think it's a combination of getting too much food the other day and being anxious because of the wind, because she does get anxious about wind and fireworks and things like that. So but she's a good girl, and she's just asleep in a. We have so many dog beds in the house. There's a dog bed like the one that's behind me that's in a armchair in the front room that has a little set of dog steps going up to it that she is currently asleep in, and that's where she wants to be right now. So good for her. So, um, but yeah, she's such a good baby. So yeah, but the wind has been Interesting. My neighbor to the north is relatively new in town. I've just been here for two. I lived in this area for like 30 years. And the neighbor to the south has lived here for like 20 years. The neighbor across the street has lived here for like 20 years. And those people are like 10 years, and those people are like 15 years. So this guy's only been in town for 2 years. He's a total newbie. But he's he has like a construction company. Actually, both of these guys have construction companies, but the guy to the north like rents out construction equipment, and like it's not like moving equipment or anything. It's not like bulldozers or whatever, but it's like tanks, like water tanks, massive water tanks. So and the deal is no, he hasn't had stuff blow away, but he keeps putting up these like so the funny thing about living with two contractors is they keep doing illegal shit in their yards. Like this guy who's been here for 20 years has like a garage that is like very against city policies and has like put up several like fences that are against city ordinances and everything like that. And like we don't try to fight with the neighbors because it's just like, I don't want to have a fucking argument with anybody about anything. Like we have to live next to you. Let's try to get along. But it is like kind of annoying that like the entire footprint of his property is taken up with stuff that he doesn't have permits on. He also, I remind me to tell you about the fucking tortoise in a second. But yeah, so the neighbor to the north, who's, been here 2 years, has been putting up structures that are like technically legal. So like a big giant dome, that like he uses to store stuff and everything like that, which is anchored to the ground, so it's probably not going to blow away. But one of the more recent structures was not anchored to the ground and has blown into my yard halfway. So eventually, when the wind stops, we're probably going to have to text him and be like, hey, let us know when you want us to like meet you out there so we can lift this thing off of our fence and back into your yard for you. So, I don't dislike Linux users. I love Linux users. I am Linux users. I just am tired of Linux users the same way that I'm frequently tired of tech people generally, which is it's a communication thing because it is people who are like if you look on my Tumblr right now, I'm kind of having a back and forth because earlier this week it was supposed to be a start to finish Linux install stream, and it became a start to failure Linux install stream. And my least favorite part of the Linux install process is doing checksums because I install Linux maybe 2 or 3 times a year on different machines, but my day-to-day machine is a Windows machine. So I never remember how to do checksums in Windows because I'm just not doing it frequently enough that like I remember the process. It's like if I'm making a recipe every single week, I will remember that recipe. If I'm making a recipe only once every 2 years, I'm going to, forget the measurements that I need for the recipe. So same sort of deal. And yeah, like, so that was part of what we went through, like sitting on stream and everything like that. And one of the things that came up was in looking for the Ubuntu, I still can't say it, instructions for how to do that. I was like, how do you do this in Windows? Because I'm using a Windows machine as my daily driver. And the instructions from the Linux website telling you how to do this were, well, why are you not doing this with Linux in Windows? Like, you should just dual boot and install Linux. And it's like, motherfucker, I am trying to install Linux. I am trying to do that. Don't snark at me. So, yeah, and that's the thing is like I love Linux users, but this is I talked a little bit about it last week or maybe during the other stream with the radio thing. My spouse, large bastard, is a ham radio enthusiast. He has his extra or techno. I don't fucking know he's got the highest ranking of them. And several of his friends do as well. And in 2009, there was an earthquake in Southern California, and all of the cell towers stopped working, cell phones stopped working, all of the lines got clogged up and everything like that. And he's also a little bit of a survivalist, so he was like, hey, I want to get you a radio so that if the cell lines go down ever again, like you can communicate with me. And I was like, I just don't think it's going to be an issue. Like that happened like once, and it got resolved within a few hours. And like earthquakes are common here, and like you and I know how we communicate. I think it'll be okay. And so he got me a radio for my birthday, and it was kind of like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer gets Marge a bowling ball. And in order to use a ham radio, you have to pass a test. You have to pay and pass a test, and the test is like, I'm not going to say difficult because I'm good at taking tests, but basically I had to memorize this test booklet in order to continue like using this expensive radio he had got me, because it was before radios had become like a lot more common to like find on Amazon or whatever. So you only had to get them from a ham radio outlet, and they were like pretty expensive, and it was just like I don't want to do this. And when I would ask him, like after I had taken the test and I had the radio and I had the radio set up and everything like that, I didn't know how to like program it or like how to set the squelch for various like repeaters locally or whatever. So basically, I had the machine, but I didn't know how to like basically enter the URL and password to access the repeaters that people would use to talk to one another. So I could only use it talking on the last channel that had been set on because I didn't know how to access anything else. So I would ask him like, hey, what are the repeaters that you guys use? What are the settings for these things? Can you talk me through them? We'll sit down and I'll like write them out or whatever. And he's like, you can figure it out. It's like, I fucking can't. I'm asking you because I fucking can't. Fucking tell me. And that's why when my ham radio license expired, I didn't renew it. Because talking to ham radio guys was like talking to Linux users, except Linux users are at least a little more understanding. So I don't. I don't do ham radio much anymore, and it's fine. The ham guys are fun. But yeah, it's yes, hello. So sorry, I'm reading back through the chat. Okay, so Laughing Cat, I am going to do a better Linux install stream than the stuff that happened recently. Um, I'm gonna get the distro that I'm working on fixed up, but I'm also going to do a much simpler one that's kind of like we had Ducktooth hanging out in here on Wednesday doing an install of mint with like the cinnamon flavor or whatever. I'm going to do an install that is much more for people who are installing for the first time, is a simpler OS, and walks through the steps in a less casual as it happens manner. So I will actually plan for them ahead of time and show it as instructions, not as a hey, follow along and we'll see what happens and I deglove my thumb drive. So but yeah, um it was exciting. Yeah, no, so doing the checksums, it's not actually that difficult. It's just I sometimes get a little bogged down in the instructions for doing the checksums or whatever, and there's a way to do it very simply in command line. But yeah, people on stream were watching me, and it's like, yeah, I just will type the wrong thing 3 or 4 times and get confused and can't copy and paste and get frustrated. It doesn't feel like it's as simple as it should be, even given that it's something that's like relatively like, I mean, most Windows users never open command line. Most Windows users they never hear the letters run CMD. Like it's just, I have a run CMD t-shirt that I should be wearing for this. I'm realizing now. But like, even understanding that, it's just one of those things where it's like I get a little frustrated, and so that's why it becomes like a process for me. So but Nettywork, yeah, hi. And also, you should totally get ham certified. It is actually. There have been multiple times that we have been out in the desert, and like Large Bastard has saved our asses with his ham certification. And like at one point, when he was busy dying of heart failure, drove off into the desert by himself, in spite of me saying like, "Hey, I would really like it if you didn't drive off into the desert by yourself, and if you have a problem, you should call me." He was like, "No, I must do this thing on my own," and ended up getting his stupid truck stuck in some sand. He was able to reach out to one of his friends in the desert on the ham radio to get the truck recovered, because my Yaris probably would not have pulled the truck out of the sand. So, I mean, he had some recovery stuff and everything, but yeah, this is why the second part of the title for today is Varieties of Crazy, because I got varieties of crazy going on that I'm gonna get into. So uh, let's see. Let's see. Sorry, still scrolling through. Y'all have been chatting and I've been ranting. So and again, Linux and ham radios are both things that are worthwhile to do. I get easily frustrated. So yeah, and Mint is fantastic. We're gonna do it an easy install. Tortoise reminder again in a moment. I degloved my thumb drive. I actually still have the empty thumb drive sitting here. Um, Basically, I plugged this into the hub that I use on my computer to create boot a boot drive, a boot disk, a thumb, whatever. And let's see, I think I also still have the yeah. Uh, I haven't finished my start to failure install, so the naked thumb drive is still visible in my computer that's just been sitting on the floor. So fun. um, I'm probably gonna get to that later today. Um, yeah, ripped it inside out. So okay. Uh, yeah, I'm probably gonna do that as a clip. Like when when I stripped it out, that was very amusing. So I think the deal is that I can paste things into the command line, but I couldn't paste that thing specifically because it wasn't like copying from the area that I was pasting it. But if I pre-plan that by typing it out in a document ahead of time instead of by trying to copy from the properties page, that might help. So. Um, Okay, Fluffalicious. So the tortoise. Okay, sorry. Going back to my neighbors. The tortoise. My neighbor has or had a tortoise named Pismo, um, which was a lovely tortoise or whatever. But my neighbor doesn't like think things through in advance, and there have been multiple problems with this. For instance, at one point he was attempting to catch a raccoon that was going in and out between our yards, and to do this, he set up a snare on the fence, forgetting that like he and we both had outdoor cats at this time. I do not condone having outdoor cats. This was not something that was voluntary. This was a feral cat that we ended up getting the two feral cats neutered and vaccinated and feeding them for a few years. They were cats that we found in our yard. This is not something I'm not a fan of outdoor cats, but I still didn't want my neighbor to kill them with a fucking snare trap. But so like that's just an example of how he doesn't think things through. So long lots, long properties, long driveways, and his driveway is like about 7 feet away from my bedroom. And that's where his tortoise lived, on his driveway. And tortoises are burrowing animals. And he didn't really think about this when he started letting the tortoise dig under his driveway. Um, but the tortoise like hollowed out a massive fucking chamber, and you can now see a bow in the neighbor's driveway from where the tortoise was huge, very very large tortoise. You can see a bow in the neighbor's driveway from where the tortoise like dug out its little like cave. And eventually the neighbor, who's actually quite small, this has been amusing in the past, like crawled down into the tortoise burrow and was like, oh shit, the tortoise is like going to excavate underneath the neighbor's house if I let it continue going. And so he like put like blocks of concrete from his various construction destruction sites around the inside of it so the tortoise couldn't dig past that. But there's still a visible bow in the driveway, and I'm like, I don't know how far that fucking tortoise dug. I don't know if the tortoise's den is underneath the foundation of my house. Good job, tortoise. Good job, neighbor. So, middle click. Okay, that's good to know. So, oh, yes. Okay, yeah, I can definitely add that I do this on. I can add this to my pin. Sorry, I'm gonna scroll because and I should also. You're correct. Post that I am live on Tumblr. Thank you. Uh, Sorry. Oh, I'm also in addition to having the headache, I am also out of my meds, and so I didn't take my ADHD meds this morning. And I hear a tiny bastard also. So hang on, I'm waiting for Tumblr to load, and I'm gonna open the door so that tiny bastard can come in. There we go. Perfect. Tiny baby angel has joined the chat. So, hello. Do you want to lay down? Okay. Um. Okay, sorry. Yes, I was posting that on Tumblr. Sorry again. I'm kind of scattered today. It's a bit of an odd sort of a day. Not a lot of sleep. a lot of headache, not a lot of meds, um, and Santa Ana's. So I'm saying that I am live now, and we've got a fun group hanging out in the chat if anyone wants to join. So thank you for reminding me. Okay, now there we go. Okay, sorry. Spicy stream part rude. I don't know. So what is it about it that's spicy? Because I just swear a lot. So um, yeah, crash Discord. Scrap some. Yeah, yeah. The thumb drive degloving was funny. I'm sorry. I'm now also um scrolling through stuff because I'm behind. Spiraling, you are a hero for writing up the list of commonly used keyboard shortcuts because that rules. The tortoise hole definitely. The neighbor man, he really just does not think very much ahead of time. So yeah, the tortoise hole is structural to the home. The free roaming tortoise. Okay, so that's the other thing is like, okay, man, this fucking guy. This is the same neighbor with the feral cats. Uh, yeah, so the tortoise was basically free roaming and free burrowing. And like the problem is that okay, I I think the tortoise died, and I think it might have been because of the fact that it was like constantly surrounded by the feral cats. Like I think there was likely some disease transmission there because tortoises are not known. Hey, Evan. Are not known for being, short-lived animals. And it was not a very old tortoise. So yeah, I think that probably the fact that it kind of free roamed his yard surrounded by feral cats that have never been vaccinated probably was not good for its longevity. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I should be mixing my ADHD meds with pain meds. I haven't taken like serious pain meds, so just uh, an naproxen today, I think so far. So Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, the show, one of the writers on that was one of the cracked writers, and first of all, they are very, very funny, and secondly, they are very, very up on like SoCal specific kinds of humor that are based on that. So I will have to check that out. Let's see. Oh yes, this the thumb drive being naked. That is the spicy part. So Santa Ana's, so they happen at various times of year, and it is because of the way that pressure systems work over the Great Basin. Um, it's more common for them to happen in the fall, but they can continue through the winter as well. And we are technically at the end of winter. Like we basically probably won't be getting them over the summer, but because of like the like variety and change that we've had with like seasons and things like that, we have started to see like some variability in when they're happening. So, oh, ACL tear. Oh, good. Yes. Good luck. I'm so sorry. That sucks. Congratulations. But also, I can see why you wouldn't be mixing those. Um, so, but yeah. I think my crazy ex-girlfriend is probably something that like spoilers aren't a huge deal for. So, but so that was a ramble catching up with the chat. So yeah, I kind of forgot how I got to all of those places, but it's good to see all of you. So, um, yes. And also to hi to the folks who I missed while I was scrolling and catching up. So, but yeah, I'm frustrated about Linux, frustrated about crazy people. So the crazy people who I'm frustrated by, the varieties of insanity are within my family structure. And I was thinking about it, and like well, no, that person was in here before. At the very least, I recognize them from seeing them on Tumblr. Like that's a, I'm not good at like pronouncing things or like remembering names, but I'm very good at remembering like name shapes and everything like that. And I don't think that was like a random key smash person. I think that's somebody who has like a specific username setup who is asking a legit question. So, um, I just don't 100% remember where I know them from. I just recognize that key smash. Um, but yeah, so the crazy people in my family. Like I've got a no, yeah, I'm just sorry because surgery sucks and recovering from surgery sucks. So the I would say that it was probably the tortoise hibernating, except that I didn't see him at all last summer. So I like he normally does hibernate for a while, but I didn't see or hear him at all last year, and I think he probably wasn't hibernating for the whole year. So poor little guy. But yeah, little tortoise guy. Um, he was tiny bastard did not understand him and was like very upset by his existence, but was also really curious about him. He was also just kind of like loud, very very loud. Like just because he was digging all the time, and like the neighbor would try to like block off different areas so that the tortoise wouldn't get past him. But like they're like really good at digging and they're pretty heavy, and so it's like just really common for tortoises to like break through barriers. Um, Yeah, no, it disturbed her because it was the kind of thing that she's like, I think I should want to eat you, but you are at least 4 times my size. On the other hand, that doesn't stop her with like raccoons, so um she's an energetic little creature. But yeah, so I'm trying to define like the crazy in my family, and like this is not 100% directly related like blood relatives and things like this, but I'm dividing things up, and I've decided that like I have at minimum 2 kinds of crazy, one of which is like chemists and one of which is carnies. And I think that large bastard and I are a mix of both of those kinds of crazy, and that's part of like why we get along so well. I think he's got more of the like chemist side of crazy, and I've got more of the carny side of crazy. And I think that the carny side of crazy, because I was raised by fucking carnies. My family were fucking carnies. Like grandfather was a magician, grandmother was an escape artist. My dad was a assistant in their shows and things like that. Like and literally like lived with the circus over the summer. Like I come from carnies, who also happen to be college professors. It's a weird mix. But um like there's a kind of hold my beerness. There's a I can probably do that kind of attitude that like leads you into situations that I know people ask me like, how have you had such a weird life doing bizarre things at coffee shops? And that's the carnies. It's the carnies. The chemists, like I have talked about Large Bastard's bottle full of mercury in the past, and I'm not bothered by his bottle full of mercury. It makes sense to me to have a 20-pound bottle full of mercury. He stores it safely. It's not in the house. Like I understand like how volatile that is, and like the things that make it a risk, and like I don't want him like playing with it a lot, but I understand that there are ways in which somebody who is familiar with working with this can do so safely. Same thing with like the lead and explosives around the house and things like that, because we've got gunpowder and whatever. And a good example of the chemist kind of crazy overlapping with the carny crazy is like when you are putting bullets together, if you have a problem with some of the bullets, or cartridges, in order to take them apart and get the gunpowder out and like reseat the primers and everything like that, you use something that's called a momentum hammer to remove the actual bullet from the cartridge, and that dumps out the powder, so that you can like take apart the components that put it together and then reassemble it if you choose to. You usually don't reuse the powder because you've probably done several of these and you may have a bunch of kind of like scrap powder in there, so you don't know how hot the powder is. Like you don't know what kind of charge you're going to get off of it if you use a bunch of like mixed pulled powders. So you like, toss that, or sometimes you do fun bullshit like light off a bunch of it in the desert or whatever. Like, you dispose of it in a way that is like safe, kind of, typically. Large Bastard, when we were both smokers, would pull bullets, and if he was only pulling one or two at a time, it wouldn't be a ton of gunpowder. So what he would do is he would dump that into the magnesium ashtray that we both used in the garage. So sometimes I would be out in the garage smoking, hanging out, having a good time, and I would put my cigarette out into a pile of gunpowder. And the thing about magnesium is it's possible to light magnesium on fire. And he had an ashtray made out of cast magnesium. However, it was never going to be energetic enough for the gunpowder to light the magnesium on fire. He just liked having the magnesium ashtray and thought it was fun, and also like usually would like light the powder off himself to amuse himself, but would like forget sometimes because he also has ADHD, and then I would find out what he had forgotten. So, hello, Cast at Carrion's cat. That's it's making a little cat face with the eyes. It says a little you. But the emotional support bottle of mercury, yes. So Yeah, no, he put the gunpowder into an in-use ashtray. And the thing about it is, if you understand the way that like gunpowder works, like you can definitely start a fire with it. But the thing that's dangerous about gunpowder and like explosives, a lot of explosives generally, is focusing the explosion. So taking that energy, pointing it in one direction, and like having it go down the barrel of the gun or through the cone of a propeller or something like that, or a propellant, in order to like put all of that energy in one place and have it be very destructive. If you don't have it contained, if it's just kind of out in the open, it just sort of flashes, which again can set something on fire. However, I will say that our garage, in spite of occasionally having gunpowder all over the place, was very well fireproofed because frequently there was gunpowder all over the place. Like there was not a lot of stuff that could catch on fire out there. Um, as long as it wasn't like next to like my books or whatever, essentially everything was metal on large bastard's side of the garage. um, so less of a risk, but it might be my connection. I don't know. Sometimes I will talk fast enough and move enough that it is making things pixely. Are we having pixel issues? Are there bitrate issues? Okay, it may be your connection spiraling. Um, but yeah. So I think the understanding gunpowder well enough to know that was safe, but also being enough of a dipshit to put it into an ashtray and not telling somebody about it is a good example of crossing the chemist kind of crazy and the carnie kind of crazy. So again, large bastard does have both of those. And the chemist kind of crazy, I find concerning because it often, if is not appropriately tempered, encroaches on other people's lives. So an example of the chemist kind of crazy within like my own blood relatives, for instance, is my uncle at one point built a motorcycle from scratch. Like from the bolts up, he built it, he did all the welds, he like he didn't build the engine completely, like he didn't cast an engine or whatever, but um, at the time he was so fixated on things being perfect that he like sanded the welds down to the point that he like compromised the structural integrity of them because he wanted things to just look absolutely perfect. So what he did was make something that looked absolutely perfect that was like possibly going to fall apart from vibrations on the road and potentially endanger him and anybody else around him while riding it. Hi, Make a Fire. Welcome, welcome. And hello, Leon Barry. But yeah, and thankfully he ended up like not using that motorcycle. It was like he took it around to a couple of shows. But that's an example of like the chemist kind of crazy, where it's like focused on something very technical that's like pointedly interesting to one person and has the potential to cause problems for other people. Like my father-in-law experimenting with how he was going to do the plumbing in the house is an example of the chemist kind of crazy rather than the carny kind of crazy. And I have somebody in my family right now who is doing chemist kind of crazy stuff, and I'm just like, they're somebody who potentially Large Bastard and I can have some influence over convincing them to make a better decision. Um, but they're also very convinced that they're correct about this. And yeah, the plumbing experimentation is just, he was an engineer. So um, and like experimental plumbing is definitely better than experimental electrician shit. So, though again, he was an electrical engineer, so maybe that would have been fine too. Yeah, he just didn't like understand like the kinds of slopes that you need to have when doing experimental plumbing. So a lot of stuff is at 90-degree angles and causes issues with draining. So, but I don't live in that fucking house anymore, so it's not my fucking problem anymore. So, but yeah, the chemist kind of crazy is Large Bastard and I both kind of have, and it turns out many people in this group of people have an interest in like radiation and like nuclear technology and things like that. And the way that this chemist kind of crazy is potentially going to manifest as a problem is with like long-term radiation exposure for other people. And so just reflecting on like how I've gotten here, like, just don't store it in the house, bud. That's all. Put it outside. So no, I'm actually the one who's collecting smoke detectors. I have a collection of older smoke detectors, but like Americium is a lot less risky, and it like takes a lot more collected in one place to have like basically the Americium in a smoke detector is not going to be putting out radiation at a level that's going to like cause like long-term risk. Like the amount of exposure that you're getting from those kinds of older smoke detectors, not a problem. Even and I mean you can collect enough to make it a problem. Um, but this is somebody who has like intentionally gotten a hold of a sample of radioactive material and they know how much radiation is being put out and they're like, I think it's fine. It's like, don't store it in the house. Just there are other people living in the house. Don't store it in the house. So, um, yeah, I am pretty good at dropping alarming statements out of nowhere. I'm sure I've done like 7 or 8 of them in this conversation. Yeah, lead box, and it's easy to like. We have a. How did I get here in my life? We have a friend who has we own several like Geiger counters and things like that. Like we have done like trips together. Like one of the things that we want to go do together is like take large bastards Geiger counters and go down to the community college that I went to because they have a whole bunch of uranium tiles and just like measure the radiation coming off. It's a fun thing to do on a weekend. Um, but uh yeah, so like we have a friend who is also into the same sort of stuff, and he has something that we call Sparky the Atomic Rock. And we're not 100% sure what Sparky is. Sparky is some variety or other of radioactive rock that like we kind of use for testing, and like our group of friends sort of shares it around and uses it for testing equipment and everything like that because you can reliably get hot readings off of it. But Sparky lives in a lead-lined steel cylinder that's like this is the other great thing about like the carny side of the crazy is that like frequently you end up with people who have like really impressive skills making things. So like Large Bastard is the one who made the container for Sparky the Atomic Rock, which is basically the same kind of thing that you use or like that like actual people working with radiation use to like isolate radioactive sources. You know, it's a cylinder that has a bit that turns. It's lead lined. It's a steel cylinder. He machined this and put it together so that we have a safe way of transporting Sparky the Atomic Rock, so that it's not constantly fucking irradiating us. And the deal is, Large Bastard already knows how to make these. He has already made one. He has volunteered to make another for this crazy person in the family, and they're like, "No, I think it's okay." And it's like, I swear to God. So um, but yeah, yeah. And in the garage is really the thing that's happening here because the distance is the thing that's just going to actually make the biggest difference. And it's just like, just don't keep it in the fucking house. So, um, but yeah, yeah. So the thing about the art supplies with lead, like one of the deals about it is like, you know, lead and heavy metal contamination is like, it's definitely serious. It's something to be concerned about. It's a risk. But like, if it is in a stable form, like in paint that is like on something, like as long as people are not interacting with it, touching it, eating it, or anything like that, you're not going to end up having like people inhaling anything from that. That's not going to be a risk. The reason that like paint chips are used to be a risk and that like lead paint used to be a risk is that like flakes of it would peel off and it's sweet, so kids would eat it and it would be enough for them to absorb and end up with heavy metal issues. But like you know, we have so much lead around the house, and it's like, yeah, it's just sitting there, metallic lead. It's not a problem. So in a lot of art supplies, it's not realistically going to be a problem, and the exposure that you're going to get from being around the things that have the lead in them is really, really minimal. But if it's going to be anything that, like, yeah, people are like eating or inhaling or touching or anything like that very regularly, you definitely don't want to have like too much exposure to it or anything. But like, there's a good example because I don't remember. I don't know if anybody remembers the time I got really mad at the Lead Save Mama blog for getting all paranoid about the lead content and like Corel plates from the 1970s or whatever. Like a lot of it's good to be paranoid about lead. I think a lot of people are too paranoid about lead. I think lead risk or lead exposure risk is a lot lower than a lot of people think. And I think that since like Flint, people have gotten really, really worried about it because like they don't necessarily understand like the risks for it. Again,
it's good that you make sure that people safely use the old art supplies that you have that have lead in them, but I also want people to be a little more realistic about lead exposure risk sometimes. So, because here's the other thing, when Large Bastard had his transplant, like one of the things that happened is he ended up having to get tested for like heavy metal poisoning because they needed to make sure that there was a baseline for everything. That man has been handling lead in like liquid, solid, and powder forms for 30 years, and yeah, no, he's fine. Like very low lead levels in spite of like pretty significant constant exposure and exposure in ways that like frequently lead to problems with lead poisoning. So, um, but yeah, the pet rock got a lot more interesting. um, uh, but yeah, scrolling to catch up a little bit. So, yeah, the okay. So if it's like chalk and stuff like that, that is definitely much more of a concern. So, and it's of course it's worthwhile to be like paint with like cadmium or anything or cobalt in it like is definitely a risk too. So, hi Bixby. So, did I? Okay. So, okay. So the deal, it does excrete out over time is something, but okay. So if we were talking about, because yeah, I have a collection of uranium glass. I wonder if I think I think I can tip the okay. So like yeah, you can see those frames on the wall. Those hold uranium glass. They've got little twinkle lights around the side, little UV twinkle lights and everything like that. Uranium glass and cadmium glass and actually leaded crystal all have about the same risk of like causing heavy metal poisoning issues. And the issue is not with short-term use like in eating off a plate or something like that. The issue is with the heavy metals seeping into or leaching into food that is stored in there. So an example would be storing alcohol or wine or something in a leaded glass decanter increases your risk of absorbing lead from the leaded crystal. And same deal with like you can find a lot of uranium glass cookie jars or like refrigerator containers that were specifically meant to store food. That is where you're going to get your heavy metal absorption risk from that kind of containment. And even from like the Corningware plates and things like that, or the Corel plates or whatever, the lead that's in the paint on those is again not the same kind of risk unless it's flaking. If it's flaking, throw the plate away. If it's not flaking, then it's basically not a risk for you to like eat off of occasionally or to have on the wall to display or whatever. You just wouldn't want to store food in something like that if there was a high lead content of the paint, which is debatable because the methods that Lead Safe Mama uses to test are pretty bad for testing that kind of thing. So, um, yeah, no, it's a. Oh, so okay, for testing the plates, yeah, basically, I would say for the most part, you basically don't have to test those plates. But the other thing that you can do is if you, okay, they were inherited from your grandma. Do you know approximately how old they are? Like, were they potentially made in the 70s? Were they potentially made in the 20s? Were they potentially made in the 1850s? Um, if you can kind of narrow that down, it's a lot easier to find like who the manufacturer was. Vitrified, yeah, glazed, I think. I think let's just look it up. Used in nuclear waste disposal. Okay, so not glazed, but basically it's fixed in there by becoming glass. But yeah, man, the 70s, you were probably like, I mean, it's probably Corel. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Also, if it's not in the US, I'm more familiar with the US stuff. But what you can do is if you can start basically doing research and kind of tracking down what it is, frequently you'll be able to see like what was actually used in the manufacturing process. This is how I look up a lot of stuff to figure out whether or not like, sometimes I'm looking at like a set of glassware and I'm like, well, I don't know if this was made with uranium, and I actually would prefer it if it was. So going and looking up the production methods and the years for that is one of the ways that like you can find out that kind of information. So, and yeah, I primarily I primarily use the uranium glass that I've got for display, but I will. Anytime my sister comes over, we have a family tradition of tea. We will have tea on my uranium glass. Um, Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, vitrified is not a terribly common term apparently. So I didn't know it. But is vitreous a kind of rock? Is that a kind of rock that comes from like volcanic like heating and everything? Is it like vitreous glass, like vitreous volcanic rock? Is that a thing, or am I 1976? Okay. Yeah, it probably means that it was heated like okay, so if it's vitrified paint, probably what it means is that it was like a powder paint that was put on top of a surface and then flash heated to glaze onto it as a form of glass, not specifically as a form of paint. So, but 1976, there may be lead in that paint. You say that it's blue paint. Are they etymology online? That's why I was getting it wrong. Um, glass like translucent, bluish color. Huh. Oh, whoa. Interesting. Do these plates look like do they look like Dutch china, like white and blue with like kind of floral patterns on it, or do they have more of like a 70s vibe? Yeah, I love sorry. we have we have tapped onto one of my many obsessions. I love glass. I fucking love collecting glass. It's I know I talk some about it on Tumblr, but um oh, sweet. Let's just look directly into that then, because now I'm interested in learning about new kinds of glass. So I'm gonna. So like these kind of yeah no it is tangent time. That third one with the J, or was it on the previous page? Oh, like the blue plants. Okay, very cool. I would not worry about lead in these. So typically the kinds of plates that you see that people worry about lead in are actually like a lot cheaper. Um, so these seem like they're actually like I'm not going to say like well made compared to Corel or whatever, but like they have a kind of a less mass produced air, and that is a kind of blue paint that or a blue glaze that we have been using for a very long time in porcelain and ceramics and things like that. And I would not be concerned about that as a heavy metal risk. So, but simply because the plates seem like they're lovely, I would just, be careful about them because those are beautiful. So, uranium cats, monster glass cat. Okay. So the problem with going off on this particular tangent is that I have been itching to type words into Etsy for the last 5 minutes, and I'm like, that's not allowed. So, but yeah. Sorry, just also looking at. That's where I had been understanding it. Vitreous humor. My parents have a pun about vitreous humor. So, but yeah, that's the thing is like this. Like a lot of the. Oh yeah, that makes sense also. But so with the stuff that you're looking for, I would actually say that's not glassware. That would be counted as ceramics. So it was a joke about vitreous humor and something about a sense of humor because my mom had to have like an eye surgery thing that happened, and it was just like a uh it was like she got out of the eye surgery after like being in tremendous pain, and said something about having a good sense of humor, and my dad was like, glad that you have a good sense of humor because you have no more vitreous humor. And then they got in a fight apparently, and this was in like the 1970s, and so like vitreous humor became a phrase that my family uses that like just is kind of like a touch word. So um yeah, basically the no sense of humor because you've lost. I do have auto mounting set up to do like there are some words that people will get timed out for. Repetitive messages will get timed out. Like there are a few things. Um I don't think I've got a delay on. I don't think I've got a delay set for people chatting because I wanted people to just be able to drop in and chat without having to wait. So I mean, maybe that's something that I need to do. I just, would prefer not to if I don't have to. Okay, cool. I will look into doing the buttons. But at the same time, it was pretty simple to just right click and be like be gone. So and I think auto modding got him first actually, or at least got him timed out. So uh yeah, I'm still not like probably using this correctly if I'm being completely honest. um I'm I don't know how people set up their streams because yeah, basically I just have OBS open in one window and that's mostly what I'm watching and like reacting to and changing. And then if I'm actually looking at anything having to do with the chat, it's just open in its own popped out window, not in OBS or anything. So but but yeah, no, plates, glass. Yeah, it could have been that they tried to use slurs, but I have a lot of slurs blocked. So maybe they hit on MAGA as the only thing that they could get in. So I tried to be pretty judicious in setting things up so that people would be able to like speak relatively. I don't want to. I'm pretty big on letting people talk and argue and everything like that. I don't think that that person had anything useful to say. But I do want to make sure that people are able to speak, but I also do want to make sure that people are not like getting slurs thrown at them like while hanging out here. So, um, yeah, that was again pretty. I don't know. Maybe even banning MAGA doesn't necessarily make sense because people might want to gripe about MAGA. So, yeah, I think we'll see what happens with like channel growth or anything like that. I just at the moment like there aren't many of us in here, and I don't know how soon many of us will be many of us or anything like that. So but yeah, so Leon, the other thing about it is like a lot of people like especially if you are I hesitate to use the word like female because whatever could like the whole non-binary gender thing. But if you were like female presenting or whatever, like they come in sometimes just wanting to get humiliated, and it's like, nah, you gotta pay me for that, buddy. So, um, but yeah, that was um very very much the same vibe as people who used to roll through on the head shave videos that I would put up. So, who just really wanted to get yelled at. Yeah, so but so that's the other thing though is like having the history of having done sex work. Like there's going to be people who pop up sometimes who it's just like, hey, I remember jacking off to you doing this, that, or the other thing. Do whatever, and it's like, no, pay me. So maybe I should do the OnlyFans just for that. Just like, look, if you want me to yell at you on stream, I'll put up clips of it. But um yeah, it's really interesting because like I think this stream is tagged as like adult audiences. I think I've tagged that I will be talking about sex on this, even if it's not like a mature stream. But like like what's really interesting about it is like a lot of people have problems with the humiliation fetishes. Like it's been so with the head shave fetish community, there's like a like almost 50-50 split between people who want you to dom them as like, butch lady with head shave and who want to call you a disgusting subhuman pig because of head shave. And like I'm actually fine catering to either of those if I'm getting paid for it, but it's really interesting to see like the lines where people find this kind of thing troublesome. And like a lot of people really don't enjoy doing the humiliation fetish stuff, like unless they specifically have that as like one of their own kinks because it's like depressing. I don't get depressed by it. I just kind of think it's funny. So I don't mind doing it in either direction. So um, but yeah, is there a specific way to report spam? I will probably see if I can find a nice quick article on how to do modding basics before the next stream, just to make sure that I'm ready in case something like that does happen again. That was funny though. Sorry. Um, so I'm much less annoyed by trolls like that than I am by some people who are legitimately arguing with me on Tumblr for things. So yeah. But thank you for reporting. If y'all were reporting that, I do really appreciate that. That does help, because I don't know what I'm doing here. Um, so, oh, I'm gonna also add to put the stream in my pinned. So, okay, let's see. What is, I'm forgetting what, like, my, there we go. That makes sense that they call it the vitriol coating. Yeah, and I know that they're being French for glass because there's some debate as to whether or not various versions of Cinderella, whether or not it's fur or glass slippers, because the words are similar in French. I don't speak very much French, very, very minimal French. Oh, sorry, you got auto modded because you accidentally stumbled on one of the words. But yeah. Um, yes, we have misogyny blocking on this chat. So I sh I mean I use the word cunt. So hard to like again, it's kind of hard to figure out what I want to mod because like I'm perfectly fine with people being like rude. I just don't want them being rude to each other. So I don't want people calling each other cunts in the chat, but I don't have problems with people calling me a cunt or discussing cunts or anything. So, um, yes, and reporting trolls is important. Reporting trolls and not feeding the trolls. It is. I'm gonna try to be good about not feeding the trolls. Sometimes I like feeding the trolls just a little bit because sometimes trolls are funny. But so, but yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was that I was gonna generally chat about today. I have talked about the um the family madness. Uh, what did I title this stream? I don't even know. I don't remember. Sorry, my head is still kind of hurting pretty bad. Um, yeah, Linux users being wrong on the internet, Santa Ana's, varieties of crazy. Yeah, I don't know if there's any more detail I need to get into on the varieties of crazy, but I do like the fun little categorization. And I'm beginning to think about collecting other examples of carnie or chemist crazy in my life. The coffee shop was definitely much more of a carnie flavor of crazy. I wonder if I've had any jobs that have been like chemist crazy. Thankfully, I don't think so. Large Bastard has had chemist crazy jobs, but not me. So oh, more about my glass collection. Okay. Uh, that's dangerous because there's a good chance that I'm just gonna go start grabbing it. Oh, I guess I could bring up I have at least a little bit of a Tumblr about it. I need to post more to that Tumblr because it's one of, my whatever 60 accounts. But I have Heart of Uranium Glass, which is a side blog about my glass collection. And So the background or the header picture here is actually I have a rainbow tea set, which is all depression glass that is in rainbow colors. So let me see if I can get this to zoom a little. Yay. Okay, because I think I only have these photos on my phone, not on my computer, so I can't show them off. But yeah, so this sugar and creamer set. Um, these are actually the first two pieces of glass that I got because they were a wedding present from my mom because they were my grandmother's. And like I said, my family has like a tea tradition kind of thing. Um, and it's um, yeah, we do tea a lot as a family. So my grandmother died when I was about 6, or 7. I was young, but she was my grandmother who was the escape artist. And uh, both of my grandparents' families were very, very poor. And this kind of glass that is in all of this depression glass is called sandwich glass. It was really inexpensively made because basically all that it was they would get glass and they would press it between a mold, and so a lot of these things you'll actually be able to see like the seam on the side, and so a lot of these collections that people started were stuff that was like giveaways in like boxes of like laundry detergent and things like that. So you could be really broke, really, really broke, and still get this kind of beautiful stuff that would come like as sweepstakes giveaway kind of things. And it's called depression glass because a lot of it was like handed out during the depression. It became common during the depression. And so it's really cheap, but anything that's survived for like basically 100 years now, the price has gone up and it's become a collector's item sort of thing. So, and some of the stuff in this collection is absolutely newer than that. Like I think that this is like a 1960s kind of model, but I just basically wanted to have like a rainbow set of like various colors. And so I actually I use two of these. Okay, so this blue cup, these red cups on the outside here are the same pattern, which has kind of this like little almost batwing pattern and like a drop pattern. So it has kind of like a blood drop pattern. So I will pair these two red teacups with the black teacup to make like a goth tea set if I'm having a small group of friends over and having tea. And otherwise, I have the rainbow tea set just because it's so pretty. And these three are uranium glass. But yeah, this is the profile picture here. Well, let me click on it to see it. No, but the profile picture there is one of my favorite pieces. So this is, and the blog is like a lot of people like tag me and stuff, but also like this is me bitching about a particular Etsy seller. I fucking hate that Etsy seller. But yeah, some of it is also just like aesthetic stuff and like people showing their setups and things like that. But yeah, I do also have stuff. Sorry, I just like uranium. I just like radioactive stuff. Yes, Darren spotted in the wild. So but yeah, this one kind of makes me sad. This I've told this story before, but this I I I went thrifting with a friend, and you can see that it says $10 here, and it was her first time doing any like uranium glass spotting in the wild. And we went to a bunch of thrift stores and antique stores in a particular area in LA, and this was actually in the first store that we went into, and we were looking around, and they didn't have very much glass at all. They didn't have very many housewares. It was primarily clothes and also kind of like almost like a 99-cent store. It was a little bit weird, but we're like looking around, and we both have our little like UV flashlights and everything like that. And again, it was her first time ever going out and looking for glass in the wild. She was just starting to get into collecting uranium glass. And we look over, or not we, I look over and I see this lamp up on a shelf, and I go, huh. And I pick it up and I put it down next to us, and I shine my flashlight on it, and it glows. It is uranium glass. And um, because it was my friend's first time doing any uranium shopping and like whatever, I was like, you know what? This should be your lamp. This should be your thing. But then I felt really bad about that later because I haven't been able to find something like as cool as hardcore as this since, and I'm just like, I'm really glad I let her have it, but at the same time, like, I want a lamp like that. It's a kerosene lamp, so it's kind of like it is an Aladdin lamp in the sense that like it would have a flammable liquid inside and a wick that would burn, so you can actually see the wick here. And yeah, you would fill this vessel with kerosene or another flammable liquid, and then you would put like a glass cover on the outside here. These three little prongs would hold the glass in place, the lampshade in place, and keep the flame from like going out. So it's actually very cool. And I have a couple of lamps that are like this, but are not uranium glass. But they're fantastic. They're really cool. There were uranium glass covers. They're very cool. Let me see. Sorry, I'm trying to like do searches and stuff in other windows so that like I'm not constantly like getting like historical dragons, but and I'm gonna do Google image search because oh my God, no. Okay, sorry, I have to open a new window. Or open a new tab. Okay, I'll come back to it later. I'll be able to find it later. Sorry. I found a lampshade I want. I can't have it. I can't have it, but I want it so badly. I want it so fucking badly. Look at that. That's insane. That's incredible. No. Oh no. So yeah, this would be like for the big light in a room, but no, I don't. But yes, so this lampshade, this one here, is the kind of lampshade that would come on one of those lamps. Basically, you would have kind of a narrow chimney thing, and then this lampshade would go over the narrow chimney. But yeah, they're rad. Oh no. Okay. I'm not allowed to click on Etsy links. If Large Bastard comes in here and sees me like clicking on an Etsy link with uranium glass, he texts me a picture of a spray bottle because I'm not allowed to. My collection's pretty. I'm not going to say it's huge, but it is about as big as I want it to be. So I try not to buy uranium for the sake of buying uranium, just if I find something cool. Um, this is what Oh, Aladdin lamp. I guess maybe it's a specific brand. But yeah. Or I guess maybe it's a type. But yeah. So there's the kerosene vessel, like the one that we saw in the previous image, and then you can see this narrower tube in there, which is where the flame would be protected, and then this shade over it to like diffuse the light. But yeah. So this is similar to the one that we found, and yeah, they're so. I love uranium glass. Um. Yeah, there's another uranium glass lampshade. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. One of the things, talking about like storage and safety and everything with it, one of the things that we had talked about was I kind of wanted to get some uranium glass jewelry, and Large Bastard was like, no, because you don't take your jewelry off, and he's correct. I basically wear my jewelry 24/7. It's all like stainless steel and can go in the shower and isn't going to turn my skin weird colors or anything like that. Because like if I take it off, I won't remember to put it back on. And so, like, yeah, my earrings are basically like impermanently. I take them out to clean them, and that's about it. And I wear my necklaces in the shower and whatever. And he's like, "You cannot have uranium glass pendants because you will keep them on your skin constantly, and that is actually one of the more dangerous things to do." I'm like, "Okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point." So, um, but yeah, it's they're so good. They're so. I feel like Ariel, Daddy, I love them. Um, so yeah, this I have a there's a chandelier, but there's a lamp, a 1960s mid-century, cheap brass chandelier in my dining room that like those would look gorgeous on, and I could get UV bulbs for them. Um, uh, the uranium glass lamps would be totally safe to use. Like it's not gonna. So actually, uranium glass, like these things, basically with our Geiger counters, like basically won't react. There's so little uranium in them that it's essentially like just it's not even enough to like go above background radiation in terms of radiation. The problem is again the heavy metals, and if you're doing something like that for heavy metals with the kerosene, you're not going to be inhaling enough that it's a problem. So like nowhere near enough that it's a problem. So it would be totally safe to use. As much as it would be like in that case, you would have a lot more concerns about the environmental toxins that you would get from burning a kerosene lamp. You are in much more danger, like burning like it's equivalent risk to like burning a scented candle. So which is something that we choose to do, that it's perfectly fine to do, but that does increase like indoor air pollution and like the amount of carcinogens in the air. So but yeah, that's sorry, I just keep I don't need a uranium glass lamp. Oh my god. I also really love Tiffany glass, so anything that like I know that this is not Tiffany glass, but it has kind of like a Tiffany glass vibe. So like combining like Tiffany and uranium. I've actually thought about getting into making Tiffany lampshades with uranium glass, because you can do that. You 100% can do that. You can buy the glass for it and break it into the right size pieces and everything and put it together and like assemble it. And it is something I have thought about, but it is also the kind of thing where it's like that is a hobby that is going to require like hundreds of hours of learning and also like a very specific setup. And I barely do anything other than sleep on weekends. I probably shouldn't try to get into. Yes, yes, it is definitely a chemist cider. um, and that is the kind of thing that I do. I do fall into. Seriously, is that? Mm, mm, that's perfect. That's gorgeous. Uh, I'm not. I'm gonna maybe see if I can find something like that on Etsy later. Um, and add it to like the ultimate wish list, because that's really fucking cool. That's really really fucking cool. So yes, perhaps if I escape the particular I'll have time for that particular hobby if I escape the hell of my current job. It would be again, it would be great if I could. Oh, sorry, is this a combination of the um because there are all these fantastic like sculptural uranium glass things. Yeah, like the art deco uranium glass like nudes and things like that. I forgot that I was looking at my Tumblr. Sorry. um because I know that that was one of the things up above, is one of those molded sculptural uranium glass art nouveau things. So but combining that with a lamp, that's really cool. So but yeah, no, like oh, I'm sorry if I was hiding things. I didn't mean to. Oh no, I was hiding a lot of that. Okay, let me go back because it was kind of hidden. Where did the window go? Um, yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. I forgot that that was being hidden by chat. And okay, there. Yes, that's what was being hidden. World's Fair 1939 uranium glass Saturn lamp, which is what I'm going to have to see if I can find and like add to a birthday wish list or something. Ah, no, you guys don't need to know about Dante. Dante was one of the guys who I met when I was cleaning the office out in San Diego, and like he was very cool, but like I forgot that I had a chat window open with him. So it's so cool, isn't it pretty? Like, let me see if I can just view the image. Open. Or is that just okay? There we go. There, that's what I want. Okay, yes. Yeah. So getting that with like a black light. No, like even just on its own, like that's very very cool. But yeah, it would look really rad with a UV light in it. Yeah, yeah. I don't own any uranium glass lamps. So like the deal is what I've tried to do recently for my rules. Uh yeah, yeah, okay. I could probably definitely do an entire stream of just making happy noises at seeing uranium glass that I want. But one of the rules that I've tried to institute for myself is like if I find uranium glass that I don't already own while I am out and about in public in the real world, I can get it. Like, or if it would add to a collection that I have that I already know that I really like, I can get it. I am trying really hard not to buy uranium glass online just for the sake of having uranium glass because when I started my collection, I went a little overboard and there was a lot of stuff that was like less expensive at the time. These days the price has gone up a little bit. So, I am kind of glad that I went a little nuts because it let me get a collection that I don't know that I would be able to get right now. But it also, oh, dang it. I wanted to um uh, yeah, yeah, and it's so easy when you get into something that you're interested in, and just to be like, oh my God, I need all of it. So also, by the way, I will explain. The reason that I hate this reseller on Etsy is because they're selling things as uranium glass like or uranium style, and a lot of these things do not have uranium, but what this person is doing is they are showing the glass with a flashlight that has a particular wavelength that will cause non-uranium or like non-cadmium glass to fluoresce. So like this is just clear glass. This is just regular glass, but it is being hit with a flashlight that will make it fluoresce at a particular wavelength. But the normal wavelength of light that you would use to light up uranium glass like this set would not light it up. So you'll be attempting to light something up and display something, and none of it displays right because that's not a common kind of like light bulb. And it is a really scummy, shitty thing to do, and it's very annoying. And the deal is, they have warnings about that in all of their like posts because like they're just saying straight up, but you can't filter particular sellers out on Etsy. So if you do a search for uranium glass, this person pops up in like half of the fucking posts. It's really annoying. It's really, really annoying. And it's like, that's not what I'm looking for. And you're like false advertising, but because they say like, oh, okay, this is only under the 365 nanometer instead of the 395 nanometer, like they can get away with it. And I just get really annoyed that I can't filter. And it catches people who are new to the hobby. The people who are like, because the people who are new to the hobby will go and they'll be like, oh, well, it makes sense that it would only glow under certain kinds of light. Normal uranium glass only glows under certain kinds of light. But the other thing about it is if you're looking at like actual uranium glass, like this is a Fenton set, I think. If you're looking at like actual uranium glass, one of the things is that you'll be able to see it like if you put it in front of like a window at sunset or something like that, it has a different quality of light that comes through even natural light than just standard glass without the uranium does. So like this would not look the same as a similar uranium glass, Vaseline glass lamp or bowl would if you like had light flowing through them. Um, but yeah, Etsy search is just terrible. I mean, Etsy's gone to shit. Everybody knows Etsy's gone to shit. Like, and as moderate as I am on the AI front, Etsy has been really awful with AI shit. Really, really awful. And that's one of those places where I think you actually do need to be more conscientious about it. So, but yeah, that's the story of that lamp. And then later that day, while my friend and I were out shopping, I happened to find this. And it was like $1.99, and it's very, very bright, and I do like it. So that was fun. But yeah, here's my collection, the way that I mostly have it displayed. Let's see if it's actually a bigger image, if it'll load. Are you gonna load, bud? Right, but no, yes. Okay, not gonna load, but yeah, that's a couple gifts I made of most of my collection. So yeah, the two pieces down at the bottom are actually pieces that I found out in a thrift store, like in person, and both of them were like insanely good deals. When you're buying on Etsy, a lot of stuff is going to be more expensive because, of course, it's been sourced by somebody. So like, I think that this plate in the center here was like maybe my most expensive piece or something. Like I think it was around $55 or something, which is honestly not bad. But like, yeah, the ball cookie jar here was like $10, and I think that the mixing bowl was $3. So, and I actually got the mixing bowl on my birthday. I take myself out to the thrift store on my birthday and shop for things that I normally wouldn't buy for myself, and I was really excited to find that. I also got a pitcher, which was not uranium glass that day because I didn't take my flashlight with me while I was shopping, but I still love that pitcher. It's still a nice piece of like I just like glass. I just really like glass. So, but yeah, here's more of the rainbow set. And okay, so also this plate here that's also the avatar for this page is a similar pattern to this here, and this is actually a kind of glass that was by a manufacturer called Fenton. So that is Fenton hobnail glass, and both of these are Um, Semi milk glass, Fenton milk glass is usually opaque, completely opaque, but you can see like the tops of these ones are a little bit white, and this guy like it's kind of clear at the center and then whiter on the outside, so it's got that like quasi opaque thing going. So, yeah, the glow is really incredible. So, and honestly, that has nothing to do with the fact that like it's just some of them are like more vibrant than others, like just because of like the particular manufacturer. But like the fact that it's the milk glass, so it's got that whiter kind of tone behind it. So I mostly collect Vaseline glass. Vaseline glass is clear, and it's like yellowy, grainy, clear. There is another kind of uranium glass called custard glass, and some of the stuff that we looked at in the image search is custard glass. So like this, which is opaque, would be considered custard glass, or like this would be custard glass. Because it kind of looks custardy. It looks like a yellowy like you know egg custard or something like that. Milk glass is almost like it has parts that are kind of custardy. Custard glass is much brighter when it fluoresces, and it like is very intense because it's opaque and it diffuses the light differently. So I think that's part of why the milk glass is so bright comparatively. But like yeah, the champagne glass up here, which is the one that I got for like $2 that day that I was out with my friend, is actually very bright. So, but again, yeah, here more angles of the rainbow. Yes. Let's see. I'm gonna open this link. Yeah, these are very cool. They also make Fenton uranium glass or made Fenton uranium glass flower vases that are kind of like they look almost like cornucopias, and they're also hobnails, but you can like they were set up in such a way that you can like take out three of the vases and arrange them. Like it was really interesting. I'll have to see if I can find an example of it at some point. But yeah, they're really cool. They're really really cool. Um I just really like glass. I keep saying it, but I do just really like glass. So, but yeah, that's the rainbow collection. And also you can see, so I've got this china cabinet here. On the right hand side of the china cabinet is my uranium glass. On the left hand side is my rainbow collection and the actual stuff that I use a little bit more for like holidays and things like that, like serving collections. So it does look like an ovipositor. So um, So if your dish and vase set is hobnail, like if it's got those dots like that, I think that's spelled correctly, Fenton. But if it's got those dots like that, those pricked dots like that, it is almost certainly Fenton. So that they were the primary manufacturers of hobnail glass. So this is somebody else's collection. Gorgeous display, absolutely stunning. I don't know that I'm ever gonna have the patience to put lights together like that. Let me see if I can. And yes, this is the first piece that I got, which was a birthday present that Large Bastard got me. I mean, man, I miss Tumblr before the porn ban because there used to be so much ovipositor porn on Tumblr. I'm sad about that. But yeah, here are a couple of our Geiger counters and some of the nuclear books that we've got. So, Fundamentals of Nuclear Hardening of Electronic Equipment is a book about specifically making electronic equipment that is resistant to EMPs. And we have this set up on the bookshelf that I actually keep the ball cookie jar displayed on. And I actually have, so that's against the wall where I've got like a gallery wall in my living room. And I have like some kind of like nice industrial photography. And I do also have like a picture of like 3 Mile Island and like some photos of Chernobyl. I'm not trying to like glorify like nuclear accidents or whatever. We're just interested in radioactivity and nuclear physics. So sometimes this combines with aesthetics. So, um, ovipositor is a word that you can safely look up if you specifically include the word wasp with it. Oviposition is the process of inserting eggs into something. So the way that like wasps will like put eggs, actually you probably shouldn't even look it up using the word wasp because it's going to be kind of gross and creepy. Like wasp will like insert eggs into something to like basically like gestate them to hatch them or whatever. Like when a wasp like lays eggs in a spider, that's ovipositing the eggs into the spider. So it's like depositing but with eggs, so ovipositing. So you can find things online like oviposition dildos that are like dildos that like have eggs that you can squeeze out of them and put into the partner that you're using with. Or I do have this stream marked as mature, right? Or as like sensitive topics, right? Um, yeah. So, like I'm not 100%. I am. This is something that I said to my therapist the other day. Also, is like I'm not very good at understanding what people think is normal, so it is a little hard for me. I'm gonna also just change this a little because I do want to cover. Sorry, there's a Tumblr that was showing there that is not somebody I like, but also not somebody who I want getting yelled at for anything. So so but yeah, I don't. Yeah, I will. That is something that like I almost always forget to warn people about is that like I don't think people expect the way that like conversations frequently do go sexual with me because it's been so long since I was quite that horny on man on Tumblr. But like, yeah, there will. It's very easy to flip me onto a sexual topic just because it's one of the many many special interests that I have. So but yeah. Oh yeah, here's more of the yeah, God, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. This is the Fenton glass piece that I've got. I love it. It's so the Fenton glass uranium glass piece specifically. It's so nice. It's just what is it? So okay, actually, oviposition kink fic, the seminal work in the genre is Octavia Butler. What's the name of the short story? Is it Brood? No, the collection that it's in is called Octavia's Brood. Or but yes, there is a very famous Octavia Butler short story about symbiosis between like humans and a species of aliens that do oviposition, and it's not specifically written as a kink story, but it's one of those ways those stories that's written, and it's like the only reason this isn't written as kink is because nobody was aware at the time that this would eventually be a kink. This is written to be like body horror, but also Octavia, you are so horny about this, and I respect you so much for it. So, but yeah, it is what it is. So, yeah, it's really fantastic. What's the again? I'm just gonna switch windows real quick. Man, that was bad spelling. Bloodchild. The short story is Bloodchild. And yeah, it's a sci-fi story about it probably was inspirational for the movie Alien. So because yeah, it's definitely about sex and intimacy and distance and strangeness. So but uranium glass. Sorry. Um, yeah, people do definitely get horny about body horror. Yeah, so I'm gonna continue scrolling. Yeah, there's the cookie jar. So good. Yeah, it's just and this is like I said, my sister and I, when she comes over, we do tea on the uranium glass. So let me see if I can make this bigger. Yeah, okay. So okay. Okay, I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, so they're the cream and sugar from my grandmother's set. And I actually, aside from the uranium glass, started collecting more stuff that's from this same Fenton set. So you can see I've got a little candy dish over here that's from the same thing. And I've got a couple of like bud vases and whatever. But yeah, so this is um, at the bottom here is a Fostoria Americana, which is this pattern that doesn't have any uranium that was actually a part of my grandmother's set that we found in the garage when I moved back into this house. And then there is this octagonal set that has this like really cool crackle pattern on it. And then the saucer I think is another, or the sub saucer is another Fostoria Americana. And then the teacups are like a set that it's like Block Optical, but I don't remember the name of the producer. And then there are these little sherbet dishes that are from another one that these ones are actually really cool. They have like a floral pattern like etched into them that like kind of glows because it's a little more opaque. And yeah, I think that's all the uranium. But like every time my sister comes over, we have tea, and I'm like, yes, you get to eat off my toxic plates. Have a good time. So, but yeah. The sandwiches, where did the sandwiches go? Let's see. Okay, so that is a chocolate chip and key lime scone with it's not quite clotted cream, but it's kind of clotted cream. It's poor man's clotted cream, which is just whipped cream with cream cheese mixed in. Um, and then okay, the sandwiches. So let me see if I remember. So this is lox. This is lox and cream cheese. And that's a cucumber sandwich. And that is an egg salad sandwich. And that means that this is a curry chicken sandwich. So that is a curry chicken that I love to make, or curry chicken sandwich that I love to make that is chicken salad specifically. So it's chicken, mayo, some like very good because I keep nice curries in the house, so some good like standard yellow curry mix, and then golden raisins and chopped onions, like very finely chopped onions. So yeah, so I do like to make nice little tea sandwich sets. So yeah, because it was a huge fucking thing in my family. It is like the most Christmassy thing my family ever did, and like my mom did it because again my parents' families both grew up really poor. So my mom had a pretty good job when we were kids. And so we would go to tea at the Ritz-Carlton for Christmas. Like she would take my sister and I, and we would get dressed up all very fancy and go to tea. And we would exchange like a little like Christmas Eve Christmas present or something like that. And yeah, that was it. It's such a fancy thing, but like scones were the first things I learned to cook. Scones were the first things I learned to bake because my family did tea like this, and it was one of the first things that I learned to make when I figured out the gluten issues was that I learned how to make scones for myself. I made scones for my mom's funeral, but I was so sad and fucked up at the funeral that I used baking soda instead of baking powder, so they tasted fucking awful. So I made scones for like 100 people, and they tasted terrible. They tasted like poison. And I had stayed up the night before the funeral baking them, and then that was the same. There's a picture somewhere on Tumblr, but like during the funeral, also like I used one of the restrooms at the house, and the doorknob broke, and I had to spend like an hour with people passing me tools through the windows so that I could like dissect the inside of the doorknob enough to get the bolt out so that I could get out of the fucking bathroom. And Large Bastard, I don't, you probably can't see the hinges from here, but Large Bastard was talking to me about it, like talking me through the process while I'm in the bathroom, like doing this. And like at one point, and it's my mom's fucking funeral. At one point, he's like, just hit the bottom of the hinge with the hammer. And like I'm pretty competent with tools and things like that, so I've been like trying to wedge things in. My dad is not very competent with tools. I love him, but he's not very competent with tools. So I've been asking like, get me a chisel, get me a scraper, get me a fine bladed screwdriver or something like that. And my dad is coming in with like a wedge, like a splitter wedge for like splitting logs or whatever. So not the narrow kind of tool that I'm trying to wedge into a very narrow crack like I've been asking for. So I've got this like kind of fat screwdriver and a hammer in my hand, And large bastard's like, just hit the bottom of the hinge. And I like turn around and like one of the more competent things I've ever done, wedge the screwdriver under, hit the bottom of the screwdriver with the hammer very, very fluidly, and it does fucking nothing. And he's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, the hinges are closed at the bottom. I can't hit it with the fucking hammer. I can't get it out that way because it's crammed on at the top of the bottom. I can't just pull it out that way. We can't just lift out the door. And he's like, why is this house built like a prison? And I'm like, I don't know. Get me a tool. So eventually I did end up getting out of the out of the bathroom at my mom's funeral. But it was just like, it was an old door, it was an old doorknob. It was a restroom that was not used particularly frequently because it was in kind of an odd part of the house, and just turning the handle, the bolt broke. And it just was a very good thing that I was the one who was in the restroom, not one of the little kids who was at the funeral, or even like my sister or my dad or large bastard, because like worst case scenario, we could have gotten me out of the window, and also I was somebody who was capable of taking the door apart from the inside to get out of there. My sister would have had a lot more trouble, and we would have had to put me in there to get it out. But like my dad or large bastard would not have been able to get out of the window. So, but yeah, no, that was. I just I just end up in so many situations. So, but that was it, and like it's also, this is very much a thing that's just kind of standard for my family of like, you know what, it was funny. At the very least, it was funny. So same deal with the Linux stream the other day. Like, I'm glad there were things that I could laugh about with my mom's funeral. So, because it would have sucked if I had just been sad the whole fucking time. So, I was sad. And I'm still very sad about it. But like, it was good to have something to laugh about. So, but yeah, tea is a big deal in my family. That's why I've got I mean, I know I've told this story on Tumblr too, but that's why this is my memorial tattoo for my mom. This is the teapot that she was supposed to leave me, that my dad and sister fucked off to Texas with. So, and that I ended up finding an exact copy of in a thrift store a couple of years later. So I bought myself, and then I ended up knocking it off the shelf and breaking the spout. But then I ended up fixing the spout with some uh, uh, porcelain silicone seal or something like that. So fun stories, many situations. So, but yeah, that's why my little teapot tattoo. So, because that's, and also yes, this photo. Okay, so in the background there, you can see a brown Betty that's kind of like my mom's teapot that my mother-in-law actually got for me because she was sad that my mom's teapot had gotten taken away. But kind of like that. But this is actually the teapot that my mom got me as a wedding present, and it's very nicely made. It's not by that it's not by the artist who I was describing earlier, but it's kind of similar to it. And it's just a very sweet little teapot. So for my wedding present from my mom, she gave me my grandmother's tea and or my grandmother's cream and sugar bowl, and then also got me a teapot to go with it. So very sweet, very very sweet. So my mom was a very thoughtful gift giver. I miss my mom. I know that. I I don't get bogged down thinking about that all the time, but yeah, so uranium glass ring. This is from a seller on Etsy though who charges way the fuck too much on it. On the other hand, they also have a ring that they sell that is like, it is actually made out of like glass. It's not uranium glass, but it is irradiated glass from the Los Alamos lab, and it's like very expensive because it's like specifically like the kind of thing that like people who are nerds about like nuclear history like track down. And I'm like, I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. Large bastard doesn't need it. Neither of us need it. We could want it, but we don't need it, and we're not going to get it. And also, yeah. So, but yeah, it's there's look at how pretty. So this is similar to the Fenton glass that I've got that kind of like fades in and out, where they've got some areas that are opaque and some areas that are clear. But you can see that like even just with the quality of light in the places where there's just like that touch of yellow on it, like that this is a different quality of light than comes through just like normal clear glass. There's such good Art Deco and Art Nouveau uranium glass shit out there. Like it's so pretty. Um, but yeah, also yeah, there's, you can find your marbles. So I know I've also talked about this on Tumblr. Large Bastard got me more rocks. Large Bastard got me more rocks as a present. And whereas the first bag of rocks that he got me was a 1 pound bag, he got me a 3 pound bag. And I was like, oh, that's excellent. That's so good. So I get to like sit down and sort rocks into like different colors and types and everything like that, which is delightful. That is like one of my favorite things to do. But he surprised me, and several of the rocks also fluoresce. So they fluoresce kind of like these uranium glass marbles do. So not only do I get to sit down and sort rocks, but I also get to sit down and sort rocks with my little UV flashlight, and it's great. It's so good. So I haven't done it in a few weeks, but I need to finish sorting. I had to clean up the living room, so I all of the stuff that I had previously sorted, I had to organize into little like I put everything in napkins so that I could fold them and pick them up and put them so I wouldn't have to resort them later because I do want to know what I've got sorting first. So, um, but yeah, sorting is so good. I really enjoy sorting. This is the so again, this is somebody else's collection, but this is the same block optical pattern. This is a sugar bowl. Though this is also a different teacup set because you can see that the teacups there actually are not open. They're filled little bit of glass, but uranium glass is so good. It's so good. And I think this person are those actual ammonites there? I don't know. I don't know. But okay, so you can see this kind of little thing here though. These little things that you can buy glass meant to make uranium glass jewelry, like, and that's actually one of the best ways if you're looking at getting into collecting. You can start with a collection of like small display items. And I've got a couple of them where it's supposed to be like part of a pendant or something like that. And you can usually find them for like $3, or you can get uranium glass buttons for low prices, and that's a nice way to get little bits of a collection. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This is somebody made a uranium glass greenhouse. Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, yeah. So, and this is selenium glass. This is not uranium glass. This is selenium glass. I did not buy this, but it is very beautiful and very powerful, and I wanted it very badly, but I didn't need it. So, um, but yes, very, very beautiful. Very okay. So I went to the Monterey Bay Aquarium recently, and it was a fantastic trip. And they had fucking lumpfish there. And I have seen the Tumblr memes about lumpfish, and they're very cute. And the lumpfish are adorable. Those things are fucking huge. So the ones in the very beautiful, very powerful video, like he's picking them up in his hand and he's putting them down and everything, these lumpfish were like the size of my head. I did not expect that. It was fucking weird. So, but on the same trip, they also had giant isopods, and you could pet the giant isopods. But there was one giant isopod that was very upset with the fact that it was being pet. So they were calling somebody in to help the giant isopod go away because it didn't want to be touched. Um, Yes, extra powerful, extremely powerful. Hi, hello, welcome to the chat. Okay, so the petable isopods. Okay, so here's the deal. They don't want to be touched. They don't want to be handled. They don't like it. They're not into it. They're like, fuck this. I hate this. I'm supposed to be in the cold bottom of the ocean. Leave me the fuck alone. And they don't like moving because they're in the cold bottom of the ocean waiting for whale fall. Like they're not going to expend energy doing shit. They're like, no, I am an isopod at the bottom of the ocean. And petting is like a strong word. It was supposed to be like, okay, reach in gently, 2 finger touch, and you can move, but like it doesn't want to be interacted with. And one of the isopods, I think there were 3 in the tank. One of the isopods was like crawling around, and the guy, that's why the docent or the guide or the team member was basically saying, hey, we're going to have somebody come up because this guy's stressed. So don't pet that one. You can pet these 2 in the corner here, but leave that one alone. And like people were being very, very good about it, very attentive and everything like that. But like it's not normal to see them moving around because they don't like moving around. They're like, I just want to be left alone. And this thing got so upset that like a little girl like reached in to pet the isopod in the corner. She was doing the correct thing that the guy had said. And even just her putting her arm in the water, the thing like kicked up and spun around, like it like actually swam in a big circle and everything. And the guy picked up his radio again and he was like, I need somebody to get the isopod now because it was really upset. But it was just like, I'm very sorry that the isopod is so upset. However, I'm very glad I got to see a giant isopod spinning and swimming because that's really cool because that's not the sort of thing that you normally see at the aquarium because they only do that when they're super fucking stressed. And I don't want it to be stressed, but I was very glad that I got to see it. And then I got to pet another isopod. It was really fun. So, yes. I asked about that, the fact that it was at the bottom of the ocean, but can be kept at the surface. I guess that unlike like the blobfish and the things that are like really like require the high pressure, that it's not like a huge deal for the giant isopods and that they can live at like different levels. And I think it's because of the fact that they've got an exoskeleton as opposed to being like as opposed to an endoskeleton. So like they are like self-contained, so it's less of a problem. They don't require the pressure the way that like the fish or like more gelatinous creatures down there do. So, um, but yeah, it was really cool. I really like ice pods. I really like China ice pods. They're one of my favorite animals. So I was very, very excited to see the ice pods. That was that was a lot of words in a very little amount of time. Sorry. So, but yeah, no, the lumpfish and the ice. I had a really good time at the aquarium. I love aquariums. So, oh, plush stingray. Oh, oh, so good. Oh, yeah. I have okay. I know I've talked about it before on Tumblr, but I'm going to talk about it now because it is one of those like weird things in my life. Like, my junior high school had an oceanography lab. Um, and it was like a big oceanography lab. And the deal is that you weren't supposed to do O lab until you were an eighth grader. Because it was, you were doing like sixth grade, seventh grade science for the other grades or whatever. But I was in daycare until I was in eighth grade because my parents worked late. So I was at school every day until 6 p.m. And there was another kid who was in the daycare who was an eighth grader when I was a seventh grader. And he was like, "You seem normal and also like you hate everyone here. Do you want to come feed the sharks with me?" So I was like, "Of course I want to come feed the sharks with you. What the fuck?" And he introduced me to the OLAB teacher, the oceanography teacher. And I got permission to come and start feeding and taking care of the fish in the OLAB after school when I was in seventh grade. So I would go with this other kid and we would basically take like frozen smelt and things like that and like um, feeder fish and things like that. And the OLAB, and I haven't really described it, but like when I say oceanography lab, like this was not like a normal junior high school classroom. Um, the central tank was about 20 feet long, at least 20 feet long, 6 feet wide, and 4 feet high, and housed like between three and five um, mostly full-sized nurse sharks, as well as a couple of other like smaller sharks. The teacher had actually like weird guy converted his home swimming pool to be a saltwater aquarium for sharks. So when they got too big to be in the aquarium, in the lab at school, he would take them home and they would be like adult sharks in his swimming pool for sharks. And we had like lionfish. There were a couple lionfish tanks. There was a moray tank. I got bit by a moray, which I completely deserved because I was in his space. It was his tank, and I got too close, and I feel sorry for the poor moray. But he also had this like extremely fucking cool tide pool setup where it was a tank that was probably 5 feet on a side, maybe 3 feet deep, but he had the water cycle set up in such a way that like every 3 hours the water level would change completely, so it would like completely replicate the habitat of a tide pool but on a shorter time cycle, so he could show things to students at different times of the day. And like, so it was full of urchins and sea hares and chitons and things like that, and it was just like this absurdly intense oceanography setup for eighth graders who would be taking a class for a third of the year, because the other third of the year were um like basically like sex ed and physics. So it was just like, why do we do this intense a biology class for, and it wasn't even a quarter or a semester, it was a third of the year specifically. It was so strange. But for seventh and eighth grade after school, I would go feed all of the sharks and everything like that. So I love aquariums and I love the ocean and I love sharks, and I have been into it for a very, very long time. I want to get a shark tattoo on my skull. Like I love sharks. And yeah, so that's part of why going to aquariums is so much fun for me, because I just feels very relaxing and childlike, and I like being around the ocean and the creatures. Also, for some reason, my fifth grade had a really intense like it's a weird school district I went to. But the fifth grade class that I was in had this really intense like field trip program. We did 26 field trips a year, like as as fifth graders. So, we're 10, 11 years old. The school year is like however many months or whatever. We're doing 26 field trips, but it wasn't like field trips to like fun things or whatever, it was like we went to a billboard manufacturing plant. There's a brewery pretty close to here, and we went to the brewery. We went to like a maritime museum, and then we did a beach cleanup. So one of the things that we did when we were getting ready to do the beach cleanup, like that field trip specifically, there was a maritime museum, there was a beach cleanup, and there was a tide pool study. So, and it was going to be an all day field trip, like, and all of these field trips were all day. Um, and For the all day field trip, like, we had to do like 3 weeks of preparation ahead of time where we had to like learn about the animals in the tide pools, and like at the end of the field trip we had to turn in notebooks where we had done like sketches of the animals that we identified in the tide pools. And I was like, yeah, that was a Wednesday. like um and like these things were also like very specifically paid for by the fifth grade class, like, and it was really interesting because it ended up being like a funding debate that like other schools in the district like had arguments with our school because like how come you guys get to go on all these funerals, and it's like, or not funerals, field trips, and it's like, well, because we're having um bake sales. We had the fifth graders had a cupcake sale like literally every other week. I didn't have a fucking working oven when I was in the fifth grade, so I had to go to a friend's house every other week and bake at least a dozen cupcakes to bring to the cupcake sale because we would sell cupcakes for 25 cents, every single one of us, so that we could pay for the field trips. And we also did like recycling collection. So it was like every month you had a requirement of bringing in like 75 plastic bottles, like 100 cans, and like any newspaper you could. And like you got bonus points if you brought an extra newspaper. So I would bring in like 4 feet stacks of newspaper. And yeah, it was just, we paid for all of our trips through that. And so it's like, hey, cool, we're taking all of the newspapers you guys brought to like the pulping plant because there's a recycling plant nearby that does like paper pulping. So let's go learn how they, make recycled paper. And it was fucking great. Like, it was really, really cool. And apparently they stopped doing it the year after my sister went through the same fifth grade class because they were like, well, the other grades are not, getting the same experience, and so it's not fair, and it's, kind of a risk. But it was basically like just before they started instituting like no child left behind kind of shit, so they were like really limiting what people could do. But like it was it was really, yes, tiny bastard is is making a noise, making sounds. You want to say that again? Hi. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm I'm gonna I'm gonna step away and see if I can have large bastard take her out, and also maybe grab some more Tylenol or something. So I'll be back in just a sec. I'm just going to leave things as they are on the computer and not worry about starting a video or anything. But I'll be back in a second. She did not want to go outside. She wanted the food that she didn't finish last time. So, good for her. Hello! Oh, you're okay. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. I knocked a pen off the desk and it scared her.
But yes, tiny bastard makes the best noises. It is a very bisexual fish. It is a fish that is capable of operating in two modes, pink and blue. It's very beautiful and very powerful. So, yeah. And I don't think I've got that much more posted from like my collection. But yeah, here's another one of the Art Deco sculpture things. Um, oh yeah. And Nana Such was doing uranium glass stuff. Ah, the starfish candle holders, those are great. Um, I have not done uranium glass jewelry making, but that's just because I would wear it constantly and cause problems. This is rad. This is rad. Uranium glass. Did it change like suddenly better? The mic quality? Does it sound okay now, or is it? Because I had it unplugged and then I plugged it in. Okay, yeah. I unplugged the headset when I took Tiny Bastard out of the room, and then I plugged it back in when I sat down. So, but yeah, she's being little. She eats weird. So her food's on a mat because she likes to pick up little pieces of it and scatter it around and then collect them later. Weird little dog. It became more tinny when I sat down. So is it better now or is it more tinny now? Yeah, more thrift store stuff. I just like uranium glass. Oh yeah, there's another couple pictures of the collection. Tinny now. Okay.
Okay, so is this better? This is better. This is better. I'm gonna. Okay. I never know if the I never know if the microphone on the computer is going to actually work or if it's just going to be horrible buzzing sounds. So I usually try to use the headset. If the microphone on the computer works, it usually works really, really well. However, I've got, I don't know, I don't see it right over there, but I've got an actual like Shure microphone that at some point I should probably get a mic stand for and just actually like use a real fucking microphone. So, because I mean, I've got the equipment for it. It's all the stuff from when I used to do shows and recording and everything like that. So I've got an interface. I've got the equipment. But yeah. So okay, I'll have to check various like sound quality stuff. That's annoying. I was hoping that the sound quality was like kind of okay, but yeah. Well, I mean, it's work to set it all up, but you know, if I get it, oh, there's my mic. I didn't see it because it was camouflaged. But yeah, you can tell it's mine because it matches my hair. But yeah, this is what I would take to my punk shows because I would be usually sticking the mic in my mouth enough that I didn't want to use a bar mic. So, but it's not that hard to get it all set up. So, but yeah, isn't it cute? So, and I got the blue screen specifically to make sure that people knew that this was my mic. So, yeah, I basically if I get the arm might be a little hard to clamp onto this desk. This is like a 1910s desk, so it's got kind of like odd edges and everything. So, but yeah, I do like my mic, and I figure if I can get an arm or something set up, it'll be reasonable. It's got great sound quality. So, but yeah. I was hoping that the headset would be at least kind of okay, but it is. I had to get the headset because the computer mic on this particular computer, for whatever fucking reason, sometimes like at work, because you know worked remotely for 5 years now, 6 years now, the sound would just suddenly start being all buzzes, like just completely inaudible. And I don't know what does it. I wonder if there's like just some weird like little damper or something that's like next to the microphone that just gets stuck. So, but yeah, it's there's a long-term joke out there about leftist audio. I definitely do have some leftist audio issues. So, but yeah, I think we have run through. Oh, my blue glass, my cobalt glass. I'm sorry. I love glass. I just really love glass. I love transparent stuff. Sorry. I keep thinking that I've hit the end of what I have put on this blog, and then I find other pretty things that I have put on this blog, and that glass is that mug is like one of my favorite things. This is the mug that or the teacup that I use as part of my goth set. So the two red mugs or red teacups and saucers that I have like this, and then the black one. So pretty. And then yeah, the absolutely gorgeous Fenton. Sorry, I don't know if we're still interested in uranium glass, but I'm definitely always interested in talking about uranium glass. Okay, so that's the first thing that I've got on here. All right, but yeah, so it's just very cool. It's just I just think they're neat. So I'm definitely Marge Simpsoning about uranium glass. So but yeah, good seeing you, Laughing Cat. Cheers, awesome to hang out. I think I am probably also needing to go relatively soon because my head is just not stopping hurting. So, but everybody doing okay today? Everybody got good plans coming up? Nobody's house is blown over in Santa Ana's or otherwise had issues? I'm gonna assume that things are cool, but yeah, I think I am probably gonna bail. Thank you for looking through. Oh, it snowed there. Oh, man, it's so weird. Just other trailer remains standing. Excellent. Has not blown down. I'm glad to hear that things are well in Florida. Yeah, the wind kept me up last night. That's kind of why I got the headache. So, but yeah, 60 degrees before the snow. We're having weird weather here. Like, I know it's Southern California and it gets warm and everything, but like it was 91 degrees like a week and a half ago, which is really warm for February. And then it kind of got cool again, but it was supposed to stay cooler and have more rain, and then it got hot again. So it's like 85 outside right now, plus windy. So, but yeah, I've been really enjoying hanging out with everybody here too. It's been nice to have people around. So. Nettie work. I hope that your ACL heals up well. I hope that nobody gets snowed in or blown over. And I think I'm gonna call that then. Thank you. I hope my head feels better too. So, but I'm gonna be back on Wednesday with a mending stream. I don't think I'm gonna be doing Linux right away again. But I do have a pile of mending to work on, and I figure that's a good thing for a Do Something stream. So if anybody has anything that they want to bring that they've been putting off and that they need to get taken care of, I'm going to be here talking about bullshit and attempting to like mend holes in my flannels. So I'll catch you all later. Have a good weekend, and I will see you on Wednesday. Bye, folks.